frontline legislation would be the existing traditional legislations that we have. For example, legislations that deal with employment, that provide for minimum wage, for maternity leave, and things like that, and worker health and safety, safe environment. But most of these legislations are quite narrow, and they cater for very limited communities. So, for example, like the ones that I mentioned only cater for employees, and not for persons who are not employed or directly contracted with. They could be people living within the vicinity of a factory, for example, and it'd be harder for them. So, aside from the direct legislation that we have in Malaysia, the other recourse, the other law that we have is the constitution itself, where every person has the right to a safe and healthy environment. Every person has the constitutional right to a livelihood. So these are where the basic human rights are entrenched. But I think when it comes to gaps, I think it would really be important and helpful if we had legislation that clearly spelled out the obligation of businesses, corporate entities to recognize, uphold and protect the human rights of the employee community, their customers, their suppliers, and their neighbors, people within who are affected by their operations and their products.
I think about the commitment for the respect for the human right is very urgent. Yeah, about for the infestation, free pure information concern is one of key to commit about the human right, the community right, and commitment for government and not business as usual for the investment.
I think the profound challenge is the cultural problem, where the prevalent culture is, as long as an activity or a type of behavior is not prohibited by law, is not made illegal, then it is fine, it is okay, it is acceptable, it's fair game. And to complain about it is to stand in the way of development. And then, you could be perceived to be a troublemaker, and going against the grain, and a problem in the system. That culture has to change, because that is a very outdated and unsustainable attitude.
Yeah, I think about the political in the country is a contribute for the human rights abuse. The practical practical is the relation for the political party in the country is very connected. Yeah. This is the relation is very effective for the community right. About the concession, a big area is mainly impact for the community. And yeah, again about the commitment for government commitment to respect, to fulfill, to protect about the human right, the community.
As a corporate lawyer, it is challenging when you are seen to be representing victims of human rights abuses, because then corporations would prefer to stay away from people like you, and that's challenging.
I think about the criminalization, because before I'm a victim, I'm again the company, criminalization with the community, and this is a many case in Indonesia, criminalization. Yeah, for the human rights defender. Yeah.
Sharing best practices, I think, and resource, as well as learning about what's happening in their jurisdictions. So yes, I work with, I collaborate with human rights law firms in London and in Brussels, and get a lot of best practices. You get a lot of experience, their experience as well, sharing and work, doing development work in different places, sharing what their experiences are.
Yeah, I'm collaboration with the other lawyer, maybe like public interest lawyer network, legal aid and human rights association. So many NGOs working for the legal aid issue in Indonesia. The networking is very relation, and about the case, we connect to one mission to access to justice with the community and again in the court.
Working with us, creating awareness, maybe on campaigns and setting industry standards, practices, capacity building as well among the professionals who are advising corporations, because corporations look to their advisors, and I think it would be a good idea to start with the advisors, the lawyers, the accountants, tax advisors.
The concept is naming and shaming. Yeah, because we must expose the scandal in the company activity, and we must expose about the criminal and human rights abuse for the community. Yeah, the concept is naming and shaming. I think to boycott the product because the company supply chains is a very relation about the market. We can to suggest influence the market about the company practical in the area about the human rights issue. This is a good international head to the case.
I think the writing is on the wall, and so I think businesses really need to wake up and realize that you can't continue with business 1.0. You have to embrace our new worldview. Well, it's not a new worldview. It's just the realization that the traditional way of doing business, which is the way of exploitation alone, of extracting value and giving nothing back, of treating people as merely as means and not as ends in themselves, and having no value in themselves. That has to change, because even from a purely financial point of view, that will give rise to a lot of legal problems in terms of litigation and long-term liability. But of course, that's not just the only factor to consider. There are other very real problems today in management in terms of poor productivity, because of how poorly corporate culture is, and how people who work for these organizations know that their companies stand for nothing except for profit maximization and gaining profits at the cost of communities, at the cost of the environment. I think so. Factoring all these in, I think it's a turning point where you have to realize that to protect human rights is to become more competitive, is to actually gain a competitive advantage in today's market.
About the respect for human right, community human right, like land right, because the company based with the land area, land right the community and culture the community, implementation about the free your information consent to start your company operates in the area, and commit to sustainability environment development and zero burning and zero deforestation. Yeah, this is because the environment impact is so many impact for the community, for the other country. This is the environment impact is about the environment right. This is it's the human right for the air pollution, for the air, for the land, for the river, for the forest, for the environment. This is each for human right.